Good evening. We're going to call the Concord Township Board of Trustee meeting to order for January 17th, 2024. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lucci?
Present.
Mr. McIntosh?
Present.
Mr. Dondorfer?
Present. Moving on to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes from the January 3rd, 2024 organizational and, can we do that in one motion or is there going to be two? And the regular trustee meeting.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to the elected official reports, starting off with our fiscal officer, Mr. Technip.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. This is brief. I've been working on preparing the 2024 budget. I met with the service director, Brown, and Mr. Rose, our administrator. And later this week, I will be meeting with the fire chiefs and the recreation director. And this will be to discuss and review their budget requests for 2024. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving on to trustees' reports, Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, we certainly had our bout of weather and power outages last week in some of the areas like Lilly and Meredith. Thank you, Andy, for working with the residents to help them follow up and to work with our First Energy liaison to see that that power gets restored. We do know we may have some issues over there, and we are working on finding solutions to prevent those occurrences. We appreciate everyone's patience. Also, thanks to our service department for taking care of our roads and for being out there in the cold, and we appreciate them. And also, we appreciate the linemen taking care of those power lines, so thank you. I know I've mentioned this at each meeting, but I did get a contact from a resident who's concerned about our recent levee failure and how we are going to manage. And then we did discuss some options, probably looking at cuts going forward, and let them know we're trying to balance our budget with what we think is safe for our community. Safety is always a priority. We appreciate residents reaching out and asking questions. I did have a few residents also call about a recent zoning development. There was a meeting for BZA last week, and the board decided to table so that decision will be heard in February. Right. If residents have questions, they can watch the meeting on our YouTube from our website. We did get a lot of emails regarding this as well. I think it's just important that residents understand that some of the zoning that is in place before they actually move, that would help understand what is kind of at the table. On a sad note, I did attend the calling hours today for Mr. Dennis Morley, right, who passed away, mayor of Eastlake. Great man, great public servant, wonderful, cherished family member. It just reminds me of how fragile life is, how we need to make sure that we don't worry about the small things and just be grateful, live each day, and we wish him and his family well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, as Mrs. Lucci said, we did have some weather activity and some problems, and I did also communicate with some folks on Lily Lane, and I do appreciate Mr. Rose picking up that and dealing with First Energy and our government relations rep, and I know we've got some legwork. I think one of the things we'd like to try to do is stay on top of that, because we had those problems last summer as well, and try to see what is going on and at least get clarity out of First Energy as to what residents can expect. So appreciate everybody's work on that one. Last week, Thursday last, Mr. Rose and I attended the Ohio Senate Housing Subcommittee. They're going around, they have I jokingly call it a road show, where you don't have to go to them, they come to you, and they've had a series of hearings. The OTA has asked townships to speak and contact the representatives. One of the things that I spoke to address was the idea of statewide uniform zoning, and kind of found out about it last minute, but got in there and talked about why that would be detrimental. But in preparing my remarks, I did a bit of a look back at Concord and see what we've done. One of the things that we saw folks from Cleveland and different areas talking about affordable housing and cost of housing and income levels. And what I told the Senate committee was that, while solutions there work, maybe not for us, but I took a look back at what Concord Township has done, and we adopted a strategic plan in the early part of this new millennium, in the early 2000s, adopted a strategic plan, did some research, did a plan, did an update to that plan, and have developed. Concord Township's grown in 20 years. We've adapted to the changing housing market by adopting the conservation zoning, so we're getting a little bit more density, but we're conserving open space, and we've adopted more multifamily housing, or a little bit more density, not high, but more dense in Concord's history, in the cluster homes and the multifamily units we're putting in. And so I feel like the township, appropriate for our community, have adapted to this crisis. And if you didn't know, the state of Ohio is short about 100,000 housing units a year in construction, so it's not a small problem that they're trying to solve. And nationally, there's more to it than that. So it was an interesting morning. We were there for 2/3 of the session.
Yes,
Got to hear a lot of people speak. I want to thank Andy for speaking with me as well. I also entertained some, speaking of housing and zoning, did field some lengthy conversations and some emails about that BZA hearing. And again, we're working off of a strategic plan that's at least 20 years old in its earliest form and was updated 10 years ago, part of a study. And in that case, we're looking at the Quail Hollow PUD, which was adopted before that plan, and that parameter still dates back to 1986. So we're not dealing with new things. These are not decisions the township or the BZA are making that are fresh. They're based on old plans. Continue to be engaged in working on that local government formulation. The ad hoc committee's really working hard. And also did want to just mention Mayor Dennis Morley. Was working with him on that project, and the last couple of years got to know Mayor Morley, and even more so the last 6 or 9 months. And he's going to be missed. He talk about a gentleman that put his all into his community. I mean, that man was so proud of Eastlake, and heard some people today talking about how the city really responded to his pride in Eastlake, and how the city got back some of its prestige, and how their own sense of community and self-pride. And that is truly the mark of a great leader, and heck of a nice guy who didn't let the little things bother him, saw past politics in a lot of cases, and just got it done. And even if you weren't an Eastlake resident, you're going to miss Dennis Morley as a leader in this community. So wish his family and is the best. So with that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Yeah, I would also like to extend my sympathy to Dennis Morley and his family. I got to work very close with him in the security committee for Willoughby Municipal Court. He was a great public servant. He was honest. He was really dedicated and committed, and he was just such a great individual to work with. So he will truly be missed. He's done a lot for not only Eastlake but Lake County, and it's horrible. But we extend our sympathy to him and his family. I would like to thank our road department for the great job they did during this adverse weather. They're always out there in full force and doing a great job, so thank you to them. I did receive some correspondence regarding the power outages, and I know we have identified some areas of concern there that we're working with First Energy on, and they've been great to work with, and we hope to rectify those issues. And I know if anybody had questions regarding the recent zoning at the BZA meeting, your recommendation would be great to watch that meeting, to get educated on how that PUD came into existence, and moving forward how things will work out. So with that, that's all I have, and we will move into departmental reports with Administrator Andy Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer, members of the board, Mr. Technip, members of the audience, good evening. I'll start with some items that are on the agenda. Item B is Resolution 2024 TAC 02. This resolution allows the township the ability to dispose of surplus, unfit, obsolete property through the internet auction as it comes up throughout the year. Item C is a purchase order to Henry Fence. That's in the amount of $88,585. That's for the guardrails and fencing for the generator fuel tank at Station 1. Item D is a vote to clarify the holiday schedule for the full-time and part-time firefighters. During the organizational meeting that we held on January 3rd, we did not identify the slight differences between full and part-time firefighter holidays. I apologize for that. I own that, so if we could just do a quick correction on the record, that would be fantastic. And going back to item C, the purchase order for Henry Fence, that cost is being covered by the architect firm, FGMA, so we thank them for that. And then moving on to other items, as you are aware, on January 4th, I sent correspondence to the Lake County Commissioners and to the Lake County Sheriff to begin the process of amending our police protection contract. That was a tough letter to write, but the letter specifically calls out that we would like to reduce our police protection from 9 deputies down to 6 deputies due to budget constraints. Earlier today, I spoke with the county administrator. This is under review with the county commissioners. I'm also leaning forward a little bit. I'll be working with our legal counsel to begin drafting a proposed amendment to the existing contract to modify the amount of deputies patrolling Concord Township. As all 3 trustees have stated during your reports, there is a residential pocket that has some sort of gremlin running around in the township, and they've been receiving higher than usual power outages and blips, and there's a lot of frustration. I understand that. We all understand that. I'm working with First Energy to assist in trying to identify the root cause and improve reliability. So there will be some evaluations. I think our governmental rep's going to kick that over to one of their design engineers to take a look at that and see if they can figure out what specifically is going on there. I think that's leg 3 of the Pawnee substation. So their work. I've learned a lot about power and substations and legs, and it's working through it as quickly as we can. Pursuant to the zoning inspector's letter that was dated January 11th of 2024, the zoning commission did hold a public hearing on some proposed zoning text amendments, which were all recommended for approval to you. So I am recommending that at the appropriate time you set a public hearing to consider the recommended amendments, and I recommend that we do that prior to our meeting on Monday, February 5th, 2024 at 7:20 p.m., which is just prior to the next scheduled meeting, which ties into my next comment, which is just as a reminder for everyone, the next trustee meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 5th, and that's been moved up from Wednesday due to the annual Ohio Township Association conference that will be taking place that week that we will be participating in. And then finally, the last item on my report is, I've mentioned this, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try a new form of communication for our residents. So I'm hosting a coffee with the administrator. That'll be on Thursday, January 25th. I'll start that about 9 a.m. I'm going to have coffee. I'll have a snack, which I haven't decided what to bring yet. But anybody can come and talk to the administrator about anything Concord Township.
Great.
I don't want to get into state and local or state and national politics. That's not this. The purpose of this is to have residents come in and talk about things in Concord Township, whether it's rec, fire, roads, electric, whatever you want to talk about. Come in, let's have a chat, and we'll see how that goes. And I'll run a short series of that, and if it goes well, then we'll continue that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Moving on to our audience portion. It's my understanding we have a young high school student here today who's needs to attend a local government meeting. So if you wouldn't mind stepping up to the podium here and introducing yourself and let us know what high school you go to and what maybe your plans are for your future.
Hello.
Hello.
Dominic Duncan. Nice to meet you guys. So I am a Mentor High School student, but I do go to Lakeland full time. I am gonna be graduating with an associate's degree in business, so that's what I would like to do.
Good.
I am here for the Ohio Association Township Association scholarship. So you're required to be attending a meeting for that. So that's what I'm here to be
Well,
doing.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
Thanks for attending.
Yep.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Seeing that we have no other but one in the audience, we will move on to old business. Seeing that we have no old business, we will move into the new business section of the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I vote to approve the December financial report.
And I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2024-2, a resolution by Concord Township Board of Trustees to dispose of surpluses, unneeded, obsolete, or unfit personal property through the use of internet auction.
And I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the purchase order not to exceed $8,585 to Henry Fence for Fire Station 1's guardrail and fence requirement.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the clarification of the holiday schedule for full-time and part-time firefighters, which are as follow. 2024 holidays for full-time firefighting personnel per the union contract as follows. January 1, New Year's Day. January 15th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. March 31st, Easter. May 27th, Memorial Day. June 19th, Juneteenth Day. July 4th, Independence Day. September 2nd, Labor Day. November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. And December 25th, Christmas Day. The 2024 holidays for part-time firefighting personnel per the employee handbook are as follow. January 1, New Year's Day. March 31, Easter. May 27th, Memorial Day. June 19, Juneteenth Day. July 4th, Independence Day. September 2nd, Labor Day. November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. And December 25th, Christmas Day.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And moving on to future meetings and announcements, Mr. Technip.
Thank you.
Do we want to set that public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
You want to do that
Yep.
first so he can read that in.
Okay, so we're gonna set the public hearing for 7:20
7:20 p.m. on the 5th
February
of,
5th.
yep, of February.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
What time was that at?
7:20.
7:20.
Ready to go, Carl?
Yep.
Okay. On January 29th, a staff meeting will be held at Town Hall at 3 p.m. Office hours will be held from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on February 5th. Also on February 5th, a public hearing will be held at 7:20 p.m. Also on February 5th, a trustee meeting will be held at Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. And a zoning commission meeting will be held at Town Hall on February 6th at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Technip, and that concludes our trustee meeting for January 17th. Good night, Concord Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice, 20 minutes.